من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. ثم بعد, to continue with Kashf ush-Shubuhaat of Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, we've now reached up to the 8th doubt. Doubt number 8 from the removal of the doubts. Doubt number 8 now, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فَإِنْ قَالَ, so if this mushrik says to you, الشرك عبادة الأصنام ونحن لا نعبد الأصنام, فقل له ما معنى عبادة الأصنام. If this individual now says to you, to try to prove to you that his action of worshipping the idols or his action of seeking intercession from the people in their graves, if he tries to prove that by now saying to you that shirk, he says to you that shirk, the meaning of it is to worship idols, and we do not worship idols. And really this is going around the same kind of point that they were trying to use before. So then if he says that to you, if he says that the meaning of shirk is to worship idols and we do not worship idols, therefore do not say that we are committing shirk, or we are doing is going to the graves of these pious. فَقُلْ لَهُ, so the Shaykh says, say to him, مَا مَعْنَى عِبَادَةِ الْأَصْنَامِ, what's the meaning of worshipping idols? If you are saying to me now, say to him, to this mushrik, that if you are saying to me that shirk is worshipping idols, tell me then what's the meaning of worshipping idols. أتظن أنهم يعتقدون أن تلك الأخشاب والأحجار تخلق وترزق وتدبر أمر من دعاها. Say to him, do you think that those people who used to worship these idols, do you think that they believe that those pieces of wood or those pieces of stone, those idols that you used to worship, do you think that they used to believe that these idols can create, or that they can give sustenance and provisions and blessings, or that they control the affairs of the earth, or that they control the affairs of the one who calls upon them? Say to him, you now saying to me that worshipping idols, that's what shirk is. Going to the graves isn't. So now the Shaykh says, say to him, what's the meaning of worshipping idols? Do you think worshipping idols is that they used to believe their idols can create and give life and death and sustenance and provisions, and that they can answer their du'as? فَهَذَا يُكَذِّبُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. Say to him, even the Qur'an makes clear that this is false. The Qur'an makes it clear that those individuals, those mushrikeen, they never used to believe that their idols can control the affairs and that their idols can answer their du'as. They never used to believe that. وَإِنْ قَالَ, so if he says, هُوَ مَنْ قَصَدَ خَشَبَةً أَوْ حَجَرًا أَوْ أَبْنِيَةً عَلَى قَبْرٍ أَوْ غَيْرَهُ يَدْعُونَ ذَلِكَ وَيَذْبَحُونَ لَهُ يقولون إنه يقربنا إلى الله زلفى ويدفع الله عنا ببركته أو يعطينا ببركته. If he then says that this worship of the idols, it is to have your goals or your hopes in these trees or these pieces of wood that they used to make the idols out of, or these rocks and stones, or these shrines and graves that they build on top of the graves of the people, these tombs and these shrines and these mausoleums, or other than that. Or that they call upon these other deities and they slaughter for them. And they say that these deities, they will bring us closer to Allah, that they will remove harm from us, or that they will give us blessings through their status and their rank. If that's what the individual then says to you, if he says that's what I mean by worshipping the idols, that those individuals, they used to lean towards and have their hopes in these stones and trees and tombs, and they used to call upon them and they used to slaughter to them, and they used to believe that these trees and stones can bring them closer to Allah. If that's what he says to you, then say to him, Sadaq. Say to him, you're absolutely right. That's true. That definition you've just given me of their worship of the idols is correct. that they used to go there and slaughter to their idols. And they used to go there and make dua to their idols. They used to seek intercession from their idols. But not because they used to believe that the idols control things themselves, not because they used to believe that the idols can answer their dua or the idols can give them something, but because they used to think that the idols have status and honor with Allah, and that by worshipping these idols or slaughtering for these idols, their dua will be answered quicker by Allah. If he says this to you, then that's what he means by worshipping idols, then say to him, you're correct. That's exactly what the mushrikeen used to do. But then say to him, وَهَذَا هُوَ فِعْلُكُمْ عِنْدَ الْأَحْجَارِ وَالْأَبْنِيَةِ التي على القبور وغيرها فهذا أقر أن فعلهم هذا هو عبادة الأصنام فهو مطلوب. So then say to him, if you now admit that the mushrikeen, they used to go to these graves and they used to go to these idols and they used to go to these trees and stones and they used to seek intercession from them and they used to believe that going there and slaughtering there would bring them closer to Allah. If you're saying that this is what the mushrikeen used to do, then you can say to him, you now accepted in reality that you are no better than them, because you do exactly the same. The mushrikeen of this time, some of these people now, the errors that they fall into, some of the deviated groups, then they go to the graves and they slaughter there. They slaughter for the people in the graves. They tell them, go and slaughter there, slaughter for this individual in his grave, and it will be a means of having the dua answered. Or they go there and they make i'tikaf. They stand at the graves and they sit at the graves and they ponder for hours at an end. Or they go there and they ask the people in the graves to take their dua to Allah. So they have their hopes in these people, they have their hopes in these dead people in the graves. Say to him, that's what your people do now. That's what the people in our time do. And therefore what they do now is exactly as what the same as what they used to do that time. So by you now confessing, by you now admitting that the mushrikeen at that time, their worship of the idols was not because they believed the idols can give anything to them or they control their affairs and they can answer their du'as, but it was because they thought their idols would bring them closer to Allah. They thought their idols would take their du'a to Allah. And now you people, you do exactly the same. So the Shaykh says, فَهُوَ الْمَطْلُوبُ. And that's what's required here. If you can get him to understand that, then it becomes clear to him again. Now what the mushrikeen they are doing now, it's no different to the mushrikeen at that time. Another answer you can give to him, وَيُقَالُ لَهُ أَيْضًا. The Shaykh said, you can say to him also, قَوْلُكَ الشِّرْكُ عِبَادَةُ الْأَصْنَامِ. Say to him, this statement of yours, that shirk is the worship of idols. هل مرادك أن الشرك مخصوص بهذا? Do you mean by that, when you say that shirk is the worship of idols, do you mean by that you are specifying or restricting the act of shirk to be something linked to idols only? Are you specifying it? Say to him, are you specifying and restricting that shirk only occurs with idols? وأن الاعتماد على صالحين ودعاءهم لا يدخل في ذلك, and that having trust and reliance and dependence upon the awliya of Allah, these righteous people that they claim are the awliya of Allah, the ones who have died in their graves, the ones who go to them and have dependence upon them and ask them to take their dua to Allah, and they have trust in them, is none of that shirk. None of that coming to this area of shirk. Ask him this question. فهذا يرده ما ذكره الله في كتابه من كفر من تعلق على الملائكة أو عيسى أو الصالحين. If he says to you that yes, as far as I'm concerned, going to the graves, going to the righteous people, asking a dua from them or asking them to take a dua to Allah, none of that enters into the fold of shirk. If he says this to you, he says none of that enters into the fold of shirk as a term or as an entity, as a definition. It doesn't fall into that definition. Rather, the definition of shirk is going to the idols and the statues and the stones. And say to him, this statement of yours, it is falsified by the Quran itself. This statement of yours that these acts of going to the graves and going to the righteous people and asking them to take your du'as, that none of this is shirk and shirk is only statues and trees and stones, then this statement of yours is falsified by the Quran itself, because the Quran itself has indicated or has clarified the disbelief, the kufr of those individuals who used to associate themselves to the angels. There were certain individuals who used to worship the angels. They used to seek intercession from the angels. Remember, we did that already in Al-Qawaid Al-Arba'. And the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't differentiate between any of those mushrikeen. Whether those mushrikeen were making shirk with the angels, seeking the help of the angels, or intercession from the angels, or making dua to the angels, or whether it was the righteous people in the graves, or whether it was the prophets like Isa alayhi salam and others. The Prophet ﷺ did not make a differentiation between any of them. All of those individuals, no matter what they were calling upon, were upon shirk. And so they were all fought against. It wasn't just the ones who were worshipping idols and statues. That's a misunderstanding. So the Shaykh clarifies that shirk and the mushrikeen, they were not just the ones who were worshipping idols only, but rather even the ones who were worshipping Isa alayhi salam, or the ones who were worshipping the trees and the stones, the ones who were worshipping the angels, the ones who were worshipping the prophets, the ones who were worshipping the stars. All of those different types were considered to be from the mushrikeen. And that's why the Shaykh, he says here now, if this individual tries to claim that shirk is only statues and idols, then tell him the Quran itself has falsified the statement of yours, because the Quran itself has clearly narrated that the people who used to call upon the angels, the ones who used to call upon Isa alayhi salam, the ones who used to call upon the righteous people, all of them fell into this shirk and this misguidance. So then the Shaykh says, فَلَا بُدَّ أَنْ يُقِرَّ لَكَ أَنَّ مَنْ أَشْرَكَ فِي عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ فَهَذَا هُوَ الشِّرْكِ الْمَذْكُورِ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَهَذَا هُوَ الْمَطْلُوبُ. So then if you give him all of those evidences about how some of the people used to worship Isa alayhi salam, and that is something which is false and it is something which was shirk. And you know already, we mentioned previously that this Christianity and the way it came about, and how the shirk came about, many of the scholars, they associate it to the one who is known as St. Paul. They say that St. Paul was the one who originated the idea of the Trinity. And he was the one who originated many of these ideas of shirk within their religion. That's what many of the scholars, they mention, Paulus, St. Paul. So that is the state of affairs of the Christians, and the one calling upon Isa alayhi salam, the one calling upon the angels. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clarified the error of all of their ways. This individual now, when you give him all of those evidences, the ayat from the Quran, then it will become clear to him he has no choice. He will have to admit that yes, even outside of stones and statues and idols, outside of that, whether it's prophets like Isa alayhi salam, or if it's angels, or if it's righteous people, he's going to have to admit that all of those are also a form of shirk. There's no doubt about it. And the ayat, we've already done them many times now. Mention all of the different ayat concerning the worship of these different things, and if you go back to the third principle in Al-Qawaid Al-Arba', and he gives you the evidence broken down for each type. So then he's going to have to admit that this is the shirk which has been mentioned in the Quran, and that's what's required. Here the Shaykh says now, وَسِرُّ الْمَسْأَلَةِ, the secret behind all of this, the very fine point to note with regards to all of this. Sirr al-mas'ala, the secret point behind all of this, the fine point to recognize behind all of this. أنه إذا قال, that if this mushrik says to you, أنا لا أشرك بالله, if he says to you, as they all say, I'm not committing any shirk with Allah, I'm not committing any shirk. فقل له, so say to him, the Shaykh says, وما الشرك بالله. If these people come to you, the ones who go to the graves, the ones who go to the righteous people, the ones who prostrate to others, the ones who go to the graves of the Prophet, even the grave of the Prophet ﷺ, believing that they can get intercession, or the dua can be taken to Allah, or going to the graves of the pious and the righteous, the ones who do all of these things, say to him, or they will say to you, that we do all of these things but we're not committing shirk. None of these actions are shirk. Going to the grave of a righteous person isn't shirk. Going to the grave of the Prophet ﷺ, making dua there, how is that shirk? So they'll say to you, our actions are not shirk. The Shaykh says, the secret behind it is, when they say to you that all of our actions, these things that we do are not shirk, say to them, وَمَا الشِّرْكُ بِاللَّهِ. Say to them, okay then, you're saying all these actions of yours are not shirk. Explain to me what the definition of shirk is. What is shirk? You're now claiming these acts of yours that you do are not shirk. Therefore you must obviously know what the definition of shirk is. Otherwise, how can you tell me that these acts are not from shirk? You must know what the definition of shirk is. Then you must have established that these acts of yours that you do are outside of that definition. So tell me what this definition is. The Shaykh says this is the secret behind it. Say to them, what's the definition of shirk? Fastirhu li. Say to him, explain it to me. Give me the details of that. Explain to me what shirk is. فَإِنْ قَالَ, so if he says, in response to that, هُوَ عِبَادَةُ الْأَصْنَامِ, say to him, if he says that the answer to your question, what is shirk, is the worship of idols. If he responds and says that shirk is the worship of idols, then say to him, وَمَا مَعْنَا عِبَادَةِ الْأَصْنَامِ, say to him, what's the meaning of worshipping idols? If he says to you that shirk is to worship idols, then say to him, what's the meaning of worshipping idols? فَاسْتِرْهَا لِي, explain it to me. فَإِنْ قَالَ, if he then gets tricked up again, because now we've already mentioned that. If he says to you that it's only worshipping idols, that shirk is only to worship idols, then ask him what does it mean to worship idols. And we've already done that. Because in reality you can explain to him that those mushrikeen, they never used to worship their idols because they thought their idols can create or give life or death. Why did they used to worship the idols? Didn't it now? Why? Intercession. They used to think their idols have rank and status and honor with Allah. So they used to think that their idols can bring them closer to Allah. They used to say, as we already did it, they used to say, we're sinners. How can we make our dua to Allah? How can we get close to Allah? These pious idols, they have rank and honor and status with Allah, so they'll get us closer to Allah. So if this individual says to you that shirk is to worship idols, then you clarify to him and you repeat him again. You say to him, what's the meaning of worshipping idols? And then you clarify to him that the meaning of worshipping idols is that they used to believe not in the rububiyyah of the idols, they used to believe that the rububiyyah is for Allah. But because they used to believe the idols will get them closer to Allah. That's exactly what you do. So again you can repeat him on that. But then if he says to you, فَإِنْ قَالَ, if he then says, no, أَنَا لَا أَعْبُدُ إِلَّا اللَّهَ وَحْدَهُ, if he says, no, but I don't worship anyone besides Allah. I do not worship anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he says to you next. Then say to him, that's what he says then. He says, I'm not committing any shirk. I worship Allah alone. When we go to the graves or we go here, we go there, none of that is shirk. I worship Allah alone. Then the Shaykh says, say to him, مَا مَعْنَا عِبَادَةُ اللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. Then what's the meaning of worship then? What's the definition of worship? If he says to you, I worship Allah alone, I only worship Allah. Don't say I'm committing shirk, I'm doing something like that. I only worship Allah. Say to him, give me the definition of worshipping Allah. What's the definition of obedience? What's the definition of worship? What's the definition of sincerity? What's the definition of following the Sunnah? When you start asking these kinds of questions, say to him, فَسِرْهَا لِي, explain it to me, give me the details. You're not telling me that you only worship Allah and you do shirk. Tell me that. What's the definition of shirk? What's the definition of worship? فَإِنْ فَسَّرَهَا بِمَا مِنْجَنَهُ الْقُرْآنِ فَهُوَ الْمَطْلُوبُ. If he then answers these questions of yours by answering them correctly as the Quran has clarified, so he says to you that the worship of Allah is to worship Allah sincerely, to single out all of our worship to Allah, not to worship anything else besides Allah, i.e. all of the uluhiyyah to Allah. If he says that to you, then say to him, excellent, perfect, that's right. You're 100% correct, and therefore, in accordance to the definition you just given me, do you think it's okay to go to the graves of the pious and ask them? Do you think it's okay for you to go to the grave of the Prophet ﷺ and ask him? In that case, now he's going to have to say no, because he's just giving you the correct definition of worship. He's giving you the correct definition of shirk. But if he does that, that's okay. If he gives you the correct answers to your questions, then he's refuted himself then. If he gives you the correct definition of shirk, and he gives you the correct definition of what worship is, then that therefore equals that his actions, what he's doing is wrong. And his own response is a refutation against him then. You can then say to him, you now just given me the correct definition of worship, which is to single out all of uluhiyyah to Allah. So tell him now, so therefore do you think now that it is to single out the uluhiyyah to Allah by going and asking the people in the graves? Are you singling out this uluhiyyah to Allah by going and asking the prophets? Are you singling out the uluhiyyah of Allah by going and asking the angels? So now his own speech, if he gives you the correct answer, will be a refutation against him. If he gives you an incorrect answer, that's what the Shaykh says next. He says, وَإِن لَمْ يَعْرِفْهُ فَكَيْفَ يَدَّعِي شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ لَا يَعْرِفْهُ. If when you question him and you push him, when he says to you, I'm not a mushrik, I'm not committing shirk, I worship Allah alone, and you start pushing him and saying to him, okay, tell me what shirk is then. Give me the definition of shirk. Give me the definition of worship. The Shaykh says, if he doesn't know the answer, if he doesn't really give you the proper answer, he doesn't really understand, he doesn't know the ayat of Tawheed, he doesn't know about the classifications of Tawheed, etc., he doesn't know the meaning of La ilaha illallah properly, he doesn't have those evidences. If he doesn't have the answers to those questions, Then say to him, فَكَيْفَ يَدَّعِي شَيْئًا وَهُوَ لَا يَعْرِفُهُ. Then say to him, how can you therefore say to me that you are not committing shirk when you don't even know what the definition of shirk is properly? I've just asked you, give me the full definition of shirk. You've not been able to do so. How therefore are you able to confidently tell me that you are not committing shirk when in reality you don't even know what the definition of shirk is, and therefore there's a good possibility you're probably doing it and you don't even know it. On top of that, how can you claim that you only worship Allah alone when I've just asked you to give me the definition of worshipping Allah alone, give me the definition of ibadah, of worship, give me the definition of sincerity and ikhlas, and you've not been able to do so. You've not been able to give me any ayat, you've not been able to give me any explanation. So how do you know that you are actually worshipping Allah alone? If you can't explain to me what that means, then how do you know? Maybe you're doing all sorts of acts that are not worshipping Allah alone. Is that possible or not? If a person doesn't know, then there's a possibility he might be doing something which he thinks is okay, but it's not. As they used to say, the Arabs, how can somebody protect himself from something if he doesn't know what to protect himself from? How can someone protect themselves from something if he doesn't know what to protect himself from? Imagine now, imagine there was a murderer in this room. Imagine we say now that one of the brothers here is a murderer. He's a murderer. But I say to you, I don't know which one it is though. Anybody in this room it could be. How are you going to protect yourself then? Anybody, how are you going to know which one? But if I tell you, it's this one or this one or this one. If I say to you, it's this one here with the white clothes on. Now what are you going to do? Everybody's going to run away from him, aren't they? Because then they know who to protect themselves from. They know which one is the dangerous one. So they can stay away from him. But if I tell you there's a murderer in the room, but you don't know which one it is, then how are you going to protect yourself? Are you going to run away from everybody? You don't know what to do then. Should I give salam to this one? Should I give salam to that one? Should I not? You don't know how to protect yourself. That's the point here. The Shaykh is saying when this person claims that he's worshipping Allah alone, or he claims that he knows what the meaning of shirk is and he's not committing it, then say to him, how can you claim you're worshipping Allah alone? How can you claim you're not committing shirk when the reality is, I've just pushed you on it, I've just questioned you on it, and you've not been able to give me the evidences of what Tawheed is. You've not been able to give me the evidences of the definition of shirk. So how do you know you're not committing it when you don't even know what the reality of it is? وَإِن فَسَّرَ ذَلِكَ بِغَيْرِ مَعْنَاهُ. Then on top of that, there's a third scenario. Remember the first scenario was when you ask him these questions, he gives you the correct answer. If he gives you the correct answer, that's a refutation of himself then. Say to him, you've given me the correct answer, think about your answer. That is a refutation of you going to the graves and to the righteous people. The second scenario is he doesn't know. If he doesn't know, then say to him, how can you claim these things if you don't know the definitions of them? The third scenario is that he does have some sort of answer, but it's an incorrect answer. He gives you an answer, but it's an incorrect answer. If he does give you an answer, but it's an incorrect answer, then the Shaykh says, بَيَّنْتَ لَهُ الْآيَاتَ الْوَاضِحَاتِ فِي مَعْنَى شِرْكِ اللَّهِ وَعِبَادَةِ الْأَوْثَانِ. Then the Shaykh says, if he gives you an incorrect answer, you can then refute him by giving him the correct answer. All of what we told, so by explaining to him how the mushrikeen, they used to commit shirk, but they never used to commit shirk in rububiyyah. They used to believe that there is nobody who can create and give life and death except Allah. They used to believe that, the mushrikeen. They used to believe that there is nobody who has the ability to control the earth except the mushrikeen, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They used to believe that nobody has that ability except Allah. They used to believe all those things. Give them the ayat, give them the proofs, explain to him. So whichever scenario, whichever answer he gives you, you can refute him. If when you ask him, give me the details of what the Tawheed and ikhlas and ibadah and shirk is, if he gives you the right answer, the correct answer, that would be a refutation against him. Say to him, think about your answer, you just give it to me now. Isn't it an evidence against going to the graves? And of course it will be. The second scenario is, he says, I don't know. He doesn't really know. In that case, you say to him, how can you claim these things that you're not mushrik, and you're not committing shirk, and you're upon tawheed if you don't even know what any of those things are and the definitions of them are? So that's a refutation of him again. Then he'll have to say, okay, well, in that case you have to educate me, and then you tell him. The third scenario is that he tries to give some sort of answer, but it's wrong. In that case, you refute him with the clear evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, which prove what sincerity is, what uluhiyyah is, how you have to single that out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how the mushrikeen, they were still kuffar, even though they believed in rububiyyah, but because they didn't believe in al-uluhiyyah. Mention all of that to him, and that will clarify his false response. So then say to him, وَعِبَادَةُ أَنَّهُ said to him, then it will become clear to him, الَّذِي يَفْعَلُونَهُ فِي هَذَا الزَّمَانِ بِعَيْنِهِ. It will become clear to him then that the shirk of the mushrikeen at the time of the Prophet ﷺ is exactly the same as what the people are doing now. The shirk of the people now is the same as the shirk of the people at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. وأن عبادة الله وحده لا شريك له هي التي ينكرون علينا ويصيحون فيه كما صاح إخوانهم حيث قالوا أجعل الآلهة إلها واحدا إن هذا لشيء عجاب. Then also the fact that we say these people, they will now, Shaykh says, they will scream and shout against us. They will scream and shout against us and they will reject our explanations of that clear tawheed. What the meaning of that clear tawheed is, what uluhiyya is, what it means to single out every act of worship to Allah. They will scream and shout against you. The Shaykh says, just like the mushrikeen at the time of the Prophet ﷺ used to scream and shout against the Muslims. These people now, the Sufis, the people of innovation, some of the mushrikeen, they will scream and shout against you. No, this meaning of your definition of tawheed is incorrect, this is incorrect, that's incorrect. You're allowed to go to the grave, you're allowed to go to the Prophet. They'll scream and shout against you. The Shaykh says, just like those people used to scream and shout, when the Prophet ﷺ said to them, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُوا, say La ilaha illallah and you'll be successful, and they would scream and shout back, أَجَعَلَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عَجَابٌ. Has this, as they used to say, this madman and this poet and this magician, has he made all of our gods into one God? Is this what this Prophet Muhammad wants from us? To abandon the gods of our forefathers, all the different deities, to abandon all of them and just worship one God? إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عَجَابٌ. They said this is something extremely strange and something extremely strange for us to understand. So that's what they would say to the Prophet ﷺ, that you want us to abandon all of these gods and worship one God only. This is something strange to us. Then on top of that, the Shaykh says, to conclude this point, that the mushrikeen, and we've actually done this. This is now a more detailed version of what the Shaykh mentioned at the end of Al-Qawa'id Al-Arba'ah, the four fundamental principles, the fourth principle. What was the fourth principle? And the four fundamental principles. The fourth principles in the fourth principle in the four fundamental principles of the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab was the mushrikeen of our time are worse than the mushrikeen of the time of the Prophet ﷺ. That's what he mentions here now. فإذا عرفت أن هذا الذي يسميه المشركون في زمان الاعتقاد هو شرك الذي نزل فيه القرآن وقاتل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الناس عليه فاعلم أن شرك الأولين أخف من شرك أهل زماننا بأمرين. The Shaykh says, if you now understand that this the mushrikeen, these acts that they do in our time and they call it i'tiqad, etc., it is the same shirk as what the Quran mentioned and the Prophet ﷺ taught those people upon. It's the same shirk, same type. Then the Shaykh says you must understand that the shirk of those early mushrikeen, it was lighter than the shirk of the people of our time for two reasons. Firstly, أحدهما أن الأولين لا يشركون ولا يدعون الملائكة والأولياء والأوثان مع الله إلا في الرخاء وأما في الشدة فيخلصون لله الدعاء. That's firstly because the mushrikeen of the early times, they did not used to commit shirk, and neither did they used to call upon the angels or the righteous people or the friends of Allah, the awliya of Allah, the close ones to Allah, or the deities and the statues. They never used to call upon any of these other things besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala إِلَّا فِي الرَّخَاء, except when they were in times of comfort and ease. When they were relaxing, they were comfortable, they had facilitation, they were relaxing and ease, they had ease, then they would make the shirk. وَأَمَّا فِي الشِّدَّةِ, but as for times of difficulty and calamity and disaster, then فَيُخْلِصُونَ لِلَّهِ الدُّعَاء, they would make the dua sincerely for the sake of Allah. As Allah said in the Quran, وَإِذَا مَسَّكُمُ الضُّرُّ فِي الْبَحْرِ ضَلَّ مَنْ تَدْعُونَ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ فَلَمَّا نَجَّاكُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ أَعْرَضْتُمْ وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ كَفُورًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when some difficulty overcomes you in the seas, as it's mentioned in the other ayat, when their ships they go out into the ocean and the waves are crashing upon them, and the storm is upon them and their ship is about to sink. So Allah says when this difficulty and calamity comes upon you in the oceans, وَلَّا مَنْ تَدْعُونَ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. Then you won't call upon anyone else except Allah. Allah says it clearly that those mushrikeen, when they were in the sea and the ocean and they're about to die, the disaster, the calamity, the ship's about to sink under the waves, then they didn't used to call upon anyone else except Allah. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاكُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ. But then when Allah would save you and take you out of that situation and you would safely get back to land, أَعْرَضْتُمْ. Then you would shun away again. Because now they're relaxing and they ease and they're in comfort. They think they're safe now. So when they had the feeling of safety and security and comfort, then they would start calling upon these other idols again. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ كَفُورًا. And how disbelieving some of the people they are. وقال تعالى similarly, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَتَاكُمْ عَذَابُ اللَّهِ أَوْ أَتَتْكُمُ السَّاعَةُ أَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ تَدْعُونَ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ بَلْ إِيَّاهُ تَدْعُونَ فَيَكْشِفُ مَا تَدْعُونَ إِلَيْهِ إِنْ شَاءَ وَتَنْسَوْنَ مَا تُشْرِكُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look at the affair if some punishment of Allah comes upon you, or if the hour it comes upon you. When these difficulties they come upon you, the punishment of Allah comes upon you, the day of judgment, the hour it comes upon you, are you going to call upon others besides Allah if you are truthful? بَلْ إِيَّاهُ تَدْعُونَ. But rather it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you call upon in those difficulties. فَيَكْشِفُ مَا تَدْعُونَ إِلَيْهِ إِنْ شَاءَ وَتَنْسَوْنَ مَا تُشْرِكُونَ. وَتَنْسَوْنَ مَا تُشْرِكُونَ. Then you forget about all these other deities and idols that you're calling upon. They are all exposed and you forget about them. So again Allah makes it quite clear that in times of difficulty and distress and calamity, when they knew that their idols can't do anything for them, then they used to sincerely call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانُ ضُرٌّ دَعَا رَبَّهُ مُنِيبًا إِلَيْهِ. That when some difficulty comes upon a person, then he calls upon Allah sincerely, with all of his heart, everything attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. And then Allah says about those disbelievers, قُلْ تَمَتَّعْ بِكُفْرِكَ قَلِيلًا إِنَّكَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ النَّارِ. That have some pleasure in this disbelief of yours for a small amount of time, then indeed after that you are going to be from the people of the fire. Similarly, one ayah Allah says, وَإِذَا غَشِيَهُمْ مَوْجٌ كَالظُّلَلِ. That if the waves they come upon them like great like a great amount of waves and great tides they come upon them, دَعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Then they will call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. So that's the first thing. They will call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. But what's the reason? What's the reason why the ones in our time are worse than? He's going to mention it now. فَمَنْ فَهِمَ هَذِهِ الْمَسْأَلَةِ. So the Shaykh says, whoever understands this, that they only used to make shirk in times of ease and comfort, when they were relaxing and they felt safe, but not in times of difficulty when death was upon them. وَفَهِمَ هَذِهِ الْمَسْأَلَةِ الَّتِي وَضَّحَهَا اللَّهُ فِي كِتَابِهِ. Whoever understands this issue that Allah has made clear in His book, وَهِيَ, and it is, أَنَّ الْمُشْرِكِينَ الَّذِينَ قَاتَلَهُمْ رَسُولُ صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعون الله تعالى ويدعون غيرهم في الرخاء. That the mushrikeen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the Prophet fought against, they would call upon Allah and they would call upon others in times of ease. وَأَمَّا فِي الضُّرِّ وَالشِّدَّةِ فَلَا يَدْعُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. But as for times of calamity and difficulty, then they would not call upon anyone else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَنْسَوْنَ سَادَاتِهِمْ. And they would forget all these other big people of theirs. تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْفَرْقَ بَيْنَ شِرْكِ أَهْلِ زَمَانِنَا وَشِرْكِ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Then it becomes clear to you the difference between the shirk of our people and the shirk of those people. وَلَكِنْ أَيْنَ مَنْ يَفْهَمُ قَلْبُهُ هَذِهِ الْمَسْأَلَةَ فَهْمًا جَيِّدًا. But where are those people who understand this affair properly, راسخا, with good understanding and establishment? وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانِ. So what is it? What is the difference? Who's understood what the difference is? Those mushrikeen, they used to call upon Allah in times of ease when they were relaxing, not in times of difficulty when calamity was upon them. But as for the mushrikeen of our time, what do they do? Exactly, so they call upon their other deities in both situations, whether it's times of ease and relaxing and comfort, or in times of difficulty as well. In times of difficulty and distress, the mushrikeen of our time, the Shaykh says, even in those times they call upon their other deities. Whereas the original mushrikeen, the first ones, they never used to call upon their other deities in those distressful times. But now they do. And there's that famous narration I mentioned before about that ship that sunk off the coast of Yemen. There was that ship that sank off the coast of Yemen, And some of the survivors, they said that when the ship was going down, the waves were crashing on it, then they could hear the people making dua. But what they heard, they said they heard people saying, Ya Badawi, Ya Ali, Ya Hassan, Ya Hussein. They were calling upon all these different people, and they weren't making dua to Allah. That's a clear example of how the mushrikeen now they call upon Allah, they call upon these other deities in all situations, whether it's ease and comfort and whether it's difficulty and distress. The second reason why the mushrikeen of our time are worse than the mushrikeen of that time, الأمر الثاني أن الأولين يدعون مع الله أناسا مقربين عند الله. That the original mushrikeen, those early mushrikeen, they used to call upon people who were actually close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They used to call upon righteous people who were actually righteous. When they used to go and commit their shirk to the graves, etc., they actually used to go to the graves of people who were righteous. So for example, they used to go to the graves of the prophets. They used to go to the graves of the prophets. They used to go to the graves of the righteous people, the awliya of Allah. They used to go to the angels, make intercession with the angels. They used to go to all of these righteous people. What about stones and trees? Stones and trees, can that be considered as righteous or not? Stones and trees. So those mushrikeen, we know they used to go to the angels, we know they used to go to the prophets, we know they used to go to the righteous people, we know they used to go to stones and trees. Stones and trees, is that righteous? The Shaykh said now, the mushrikeen of that first time, they only used to go to righteous people. But they used to go to stones and trees and idols. Are they righteous? They are. Stones and trees, a rock and a tree. How are they righteous? Correct. So stones and trees, they are righteous also. Inanimate objects like stones and trees, they are righteous. Because it's mentioned that everything, it makes the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything makes the glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the stones and the trees and the inanimate objects. So even they are generally included as righteous objects. So those mushrikeen used to go to righteous things. The Shaykh mentions here, أحجارا أو أشجارا مطيعة لله وليست عاصية. Stones and trees and these things, they are obedient to Allah. They make the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not sinners against Allah, stone and a tree. They're a sinner against Allah. What sin does a stone and a tree do? وأهل زماننا, but the people of our time, يدعون مع الله أناسا من أفرق الناس. But the people in our time, the Shaykh says, they go and make these du'as and these intercessions with the worst of the people, the most evil of the people, the most sinning of the people. والذين يدعونهم هم الذين يحكون عنهم الفجور والزنا من الزنا والسرقة وترك الصلاة وغير ذلك. And these people that they go to, these big peers and big Sufis and these big righteous people who they claim, they are the same ones that narrations are narrated from them of such evil acts and sinning, like fornication and stealing and leaving the prayer. And other than that, these are narrated from the big Sufi imams, and they don't even pray, some of them. They believe they've reached such a level. They commit fornication, it's narrated about them. They steal, it's narrated about them. And these are the ones they go to believing these are the big imams. وَالَّذِي يَعْتَقِدُ فِي الصَّالِحِ وَالَّذِي لَا يَعْصِي مثل خشب الحجر مثل خشب الحجر أهون بمن يعتقد في من يشاهد فسقه وفساده ويشهد به. So the Shaykh says that the one who goes to or has this belief that these righteous people can help him, or things that do not sin against Allah like stones and trees, his shirk is a bit lighter than an individual who believes that these evil people who never even used to pray, they used to commit fornication, they used to steal, they used to do all sorts of sins, they believe they are going to get them closer to Allah. In a way, then his shirk is even more stupid and even more severe, that he thinks an evil person like this, a disobedient person like this to Allah can help him. Whereas at least those mushrikeen, even though the shirk is shirk, shirk is shirk, the first ones and the last ones. But the Shaykh is just explaining the differences in terms of lightness and heaviness. It's all shirk though. But those early ones, at least their shirk was with people who were righteous. Even the idols they used to go to, they were righteous. Those idols that were built at the time of Nuh alayhi salam, they were representations of what? Of the righteous people who had died. Al-Lat. Didn't we say that was an idol they built because there used to be a righteous man who died? So even the idols they were built as representations of righteous people. So the Shaykh said that's one difference, that at least they used to go to righteous people, even though it was still shirk and the Prophet fought against them and they were still kuffar for it. But at least it was lighter than what the mushrikeen do now when they go to the most evil of the people. And that's the end of number 8. The next time we'll start from doubt number 9, inshaAllah.